Thanks for clicking on this video, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as I take you through me questioning my life decisions. I mean, drawing a 410 cubic inch racing engine and doing a shirt design for Port City Engines in Australia. With that out of the way, it's time to hammer down. To start off, we'll find this semi-high quality photo of another company's sprint car engine and use this for the base of the design. I blow it up to about 30 inches wide and 100 dots per square inch so it's decent size, and bring it into Illustrator, where you can see I started outlining everything in a flow green stroke that is about 1.5 pixels wide. Everything is outlined with a more traditional sense of doing this type of thing. It's more like having a photo on a light table and place a piece of drawing paper over it and using a pen to draw the lines. Only this way is computer aided and saves a lot of time by not having to scan in the artwork and clean it up later. You can also see I'm not putting a lot of detail in some objects and areas, since I know I can make up the difference in Photoshop later. My goal is to just get something close, and using the magic of Photoshop, get all the detail in later. As you can see, just a few more pieces and this will be done. Once I have everything outlined, I'll convert the green to black, and we have ourselves a nicely drawn engine ready to be taken into Photoshop. Now we move into Photoshop, where I paste the photo as pixels into the new canvas we've made and apply a light brown, kind of tan color for the background just so stuff stands out. After the photo is added in, we'll paste the outline that we just created, and the next step is to create a white base. I select all the negative area of the engine since there are far less pieces that way, expand my selection 3 pixels, invert the selection, and fill it in with white. Moving into the grayscale pieces, I create 9 layers, mainly because I'm OCD or something, and this allows the painting process to be a little more streamlined. Instead of constantly worrying about coloring over something I just did, I can just move down to the next layer below and continue coloring without interrupting anything I've done. I also streamline this by only using black and gray swatches. I usually start on layer 1 and fill everything that needs to be white or a highlight with black. Once everything is done, I'll invert that selection, making it all white. Then I can move down to the next layer, and using gray or black I can either add a glow somewhat around the white or add a shadow and continue detailing without affecting my white. Looking at what I'm doing here, I'm just doing my best to shade in everything correctly and make sure these hoses, nozzles, bolts, and whatever else look and shine correctly. It's at about this point that I really start questioning my life decisions on why I became an artist. The outline went fairly quick, so I thought maybe this won't take so long. Well, I was setting myself up for disappointment there. And perhaps the braided hoses were the tipping point in which I was getting tired and wondering if this journey would ever end. Anyways, I soldiered on as any good artist does. Working on all of these areas, you'll see a lot of silver, metal, chrome stuff. Since I don't use a lot of accent lines when I do my outline, I have to make sure the detail I paint in gives off enough contrast to show the depth and edges. Chrome is also very tedious because of the reflections and the exorbitant amount of highlights it gives off. Oh, hey look, some more braided hoses. The dry sump oil tank of course had to be chrome too, because this job wanted to take up more time. Plus it gets a little more complicated. As you can see, I like to paint myself and decide to draw in the welding marks. I also color in one stack and decide, no, I'll come back to these. I also wanted to take a moment and show you some channel masks. I use these a lot more on race car bodies, but figured on the oil pan would be a good area to show you sort of what I use them for. This is a fairly large area. I feel it is similar to eating a steak. You need to cut it up and make the bites more manageable. I'll start by selecting the oil pan area, go to my channels, and hit the selection as channel button. This will save my whole oil pan selection. Then, using the pen tool, I'll make a path around the area I want to make as my next saved shape. Once that's drawn out with the pen tool, I'll right click, make a selection, and intersect with selection to make sure nothing extra is selected. Then we have a new shape made, go to the channels again and save the selection as a channel. I'll do that with a few areas so I can easily cut down the size of what I'm drawing and make it easy to reselect some of those areas. Now that that's done, I decide I'll tackle those velocity stacks and finish doing the chrome work on them. This is a great example of me filling in the highlights with black and making sure I don't miss anything, and then changing it to white. Then moving to the manifold. This area was a bit tricky, making sure everything looked correct as far as stuff sticking out and curving in. Whew, finally, something fun. The valve cover. It's a lot like the bodywork on a race car, so it's something I'm much more comfortable working on. Once I'm done with all of these areas, I'll merge all the layers down to one and be done with all of that for now. Then we'll move into the miscellaneous pieces that aren't colored. I'll fill those all in with cyan and start to color them in the same fashion as the grayscale pieces. Same as before, I create 9 additional layers for coloring. Why 9? Because of my weirdness. But the only difference here now is that for painting in detail, I'll use a cyan, a dark blue, and white to color in everything. Once I get those done, I'll gradient map them into the correct color and layer mask them into the correct location. As you can see, I'll make a red, a blue, and a gold, and then just fill those in correctly. Time to get fancy and add some reflections using duplicated grayscale layers and putting on a gradient map and layer mask. A few logos were added as well, along with some glow highlights, and we're done. Shirt design time. We start by making a 15 by 17 inch canvas in Adobe Illustrator and placing our engine in the design, dropping in a few logos, and start the design process. There isn't anything too complicated in this design. I put a lot of work into this engine and I want it to be the focal point. So I just went with a Z pattern since most of us read top to bottom, left to right. And with that, the hope was that your eye would flow through the design. Just adding a few extra details and lines. Now that we have the base, I'll move everything over to Photoshop since there are a few small things I want to do, and that's where I will eventually separate the design anyways. Add the logos back in and add in the actual Photoshop file of the engine, then scale it to size. Jack the checkered flag from the logo and change it to gray, and add a few splatter pieces. And there you have it, a final design. Wait, what's that? I just got an email. Got a few changes. A few small changes, and since they like the design except for a few things, we might as well make front design to match. Here you can see I messed up their HP logo by accidentally deleting the yellow. Let's extend this out, and yeah, I don't like that over there, so let's move it over here. Thankfully the customer sent me another file for the HP logo and we changed that out. And for real this time, your final product. A new design for Port City engines clocking in at around 10 hours and 23 minutes. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos in the future. If there's anything you would like to see in upcoming videos, drop a comment and I'll see what I can do.